ain't got no friends. You know I ain't got no money. I ain't got no friends. I'm a bum dressed up in all my dirty laundry. I lost my job to some kid and no one else seems to want me. I ain't got no love. You know I ain't got no sweetie. I ain't got no love, I'm a bum. Got my songs and that's all that keeps me company. I lost my baby for their sake. I'd give my life up for the stage, so she don't want me. You better swallow your fear. Your face is covered in soot. Write it all down in your toxic pocketbook. If it's gonna hurt, boy, you better make it good. If it's gonna hurt, boy, you better make it good. I ain't got no sense for all the time I spent thinking. No, I ain't got no sense. I'm a bum, show ain't dumb, but I don't stop when my brakes start squeaking. Cause I lost my voice to Wolf Parade that ran away when the doctor came to check my symptoms. You better swallow your fear. Your face is covered in soot. Write it all down in your toxic pocketbook. If it's gonna hurt, boy, you better make it good. If it's gonna hurt, boy, you better make it. Swallow your fear, your face is covered in soot. Write it all down in your toxic pocketbook. If it's gonna hurt, boy, you better make it good. If it's gonna hurt, boy, you better make it good. If it's gonna hurt, boy, you better make it good. If it's gonna hurt, boy, you better make it good.
All right. What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Between You, Me, and Jose, the Slims Presents podcast.
You already know what it is.
Today we have a very special group of gentlemen with us, Rin Tin Tiger. Before we get into that, though, I got to do the spiel. I got to tell you, fucking like our page, subscribe to our YouTube channel, comment on the videos, subscribe to iTunes, all that shit. All right. Now that that's out of the way and you've hopefully done that so I can stop saying it every fucking time, I'm going to introduce our guests.
Mm-hmm.
The very handsome gentleman with very stylish haircuts and beards, Rin Tin Tiger. I'll let you guys introduce yourselves, I guess, starting with Sean over there.
Hey, I'm Sean. I play bass and I do a little bit of singing.
I'm Kevin. I do the guitar and sing.
I'm Andrew, and I play. Some call it a drum set. I like to say I'm an artist first and foremost, and I play play percussion.
The skins.
The skins. The tubs. I beat the meat way hard. Way.
So you guys are based in San Francisco?
Yes, sir.
Literally.
And who all is originally from San Francisco? Anybody?
This daddy-o down here.
Just the fiddler.
Just Franklin the Mint over here. Call me Mint because I'm minty fresh.
What about the rest of you? Where are you guys hailing from?
Sean and I were raised mostly in San Jose. Spent
We're
some time
brothers
in
too,
Nebraska.
fun fact, by the way.
And the fun fact is that we're brothers.
Yes, we were born on the peninsula.
Are you kidding me?
I'm serious.
Literally.
Literally serious.
I thought it was just coincidental you had the same last name and looked very similar.
But the blood tests are in. There's big jars of our blood here today, guys.
Yeah, I took a sip of each one of them, and I literally couldn't tell the difference. Blind taste test. And yeah, so they're brothers. At least they're blood brothers.
But we got a gingy and a non-gingy.
A non-gingy. I have a little bit of ginge in this part of my beard. It's probably hard to tell in these blue and red lights. But
There was an adoption conspiracy going through my head for a lot of my adolescence.
My mother told me that gypsies left me on her front door. Oh, sorry, gypsy.
Anything's possible.
That's really offensive.
Is
I
that?
meant to say shit, not gypsies. Well, let's just go with gypsies for now. But not the
Residentially
sketchy,
challenged.
not the. Yes.
There's also a theory that he's our dad.
It's been going.
can-
The timeline could work because when I was about 3.5 years old, I was very promiscuous, and I also did tons of drugs. So hey,
Yeah.
I know I was doing a lot of dudes at the time. Their mom may have slipped in there. You know, I think it was mostly dudes, but a woman may have slipped in there.
I mean, if you could remember what happened to you that long back, you probably weren't having a good time.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But actually, I saw something recently that redheads, is the most rare gene that is passed along. You can pass it on for generations and not know. And
Wow.
then one redhead will pop up.
Wow.
It's very strange.
Holofoil Charizard over here, dude.
I didn't realize I was a redhead till I went to the doctor, and they took a blood test. It was hell sketchy.
Mm-hmm.
So are you like,
What does that mean?
are you, were you blind like at birth, or did it change over time to become more red?
Well, it started out black. I was born with a full goatee, long flowing jet black hair, midnight black. I was composing music for pornos at the time. This back when I was 3 or 4.
Yeah.
And then all
For
of a sudden,
Andrew's pornos?
not for his pornos, because
He
he was,
when I was
in like
10,
middle school then.
Yeah.
So he was kind of past that
I was
phase in
4th
his
grade.
life. He was doing the
I
X
was-
Games. He was more skateboarding and
Okay.
Skateboard, downhill,
It's extreme, bro.
sort of skating
It's
some
hell
vert,
extreme.
you know. But I fucking broke my tailbone. Yeah, at qualifyings in St. Louis. Funny story about my tailbone. I actually was born with a tail, and then they just shortened it to a little nub, which I broke in the St. Louis qualifying rounds, X Games, 1994.
he still looks great in a wetsuit though.
I still look great in a wetsuit.
And is that what led you to take up the drums?
Yeah, well, it's like, yeah, pretty much.
If you can't compete, you got to at least,
My first drum
get
kit was
that.
actually made of beer cans, and then I switched to empty kegs, and then I incorporated trash can lids, and then I switched from. I was originally playing with paintbrushes instead of sticks. I was also a painter, late '90s, and yeah, slowly they evolved into actual drums.
So you guys obviously have quite a hefty resume.
Thank you.
We've been around since the late 70s.
But in all that time, God, like almost 40 years of making music, you guys only have 3 albums.
Well, only 3 that are to date. The
Yeah.
Columbia owns most of the masters
Yeah,
from all
they're-
of our stuff.
A lot of the
up
early
until
stuff's
the year
out of print.
2011. The early stuff's kind of in a vault. It never really made a splash, in that time era. It was a little bit. The public didn't understand it,
Yeah.
so now
We think it has
Columbia
potential,
owns the
but
masters,
Yeah.
and we
we
can't
can't release it.
get a hold of
But
it.
look forward to this. We are re-releasing some of our classic '70s albums. Electric Peach Schnapps, also Camouflage Banana Hammock, and yeah. So look forward to those. We're re-releasing those. They will be available online, probably early 2015.
We'll be on the lookout for those reissues.
Mm-hmm.
You guys just recently got through with a residency at Amnesia,
Yeah.
and you did one album every week, I guess.
We
Is
did,
that how it
yeah.
worked out? So obviously there's 4 weeks, 3 albums. So the last show you did some new stuff.
Yeah.
Do you have a new album that's in the can? Are you working on recording it, or
We have
when
a
can
n-
we expect to hear that?
We were going to put out a new album this year, but decided to focus on videos and other promo and stuff. So we have a new one that's written. We did demos. We demoed the whole thing, and it's going to come out in 2015 at some point.
Yeah. So it's written, ironing out some kinks, and then we'll be recording the end of this year and releasing the first half of next year.
It's going to be called Terminator 4.
Yep. Be on the lookout. T4, RTT T4.
I think there was a T4 already.
Oh shit! Right. No, sorry. Now, we changed it to Lethal Weapon.
Well, it wasn't called
But now it's going to be
T4,
called
but yeah.
Lethal Weapon 7, I think.
Okay. I can forgive that one. But how was it playing that residency? Have you done residencies before?
No.
No, this is our first residency, and it was crazy. I mean, it was honestly, first of all, it was on Tuesday nights, is what they do for Amnesia. So
Yeah.
that was different. I think that was only the second time we'd ever done a show on a Tuesday. We weren't on tour or something. We did a random Tuesday show at Du Nord a couple years ago, but aside from that, Tuesday nights are generally pretty chill. We usually practice on Tuesday nights, lay low, hang out. And that was kind of wild because the show started at 9 and we played somewhere between 11 and 11:30, like headlining the shows.
Yeah.
And so every Tuesday was just like this crazy party with our friends, because we asked a lot of our good friends to play the shows, and we'd hang out. And then we did it. They were only $5, so we really try to encourage people that liked our band or had heard of our band, or even just people walking down the street to come and check it out. Cheap show. So they were crazy. It was fun.
A lot of drinking.
A lot of drinking on a Tuesday
A lot
night.
of drinking, a lot of rocking.
When you get all your buddies together in a little bar and get drunk.
It was the most drinking I've ever done on 4 consecutive Tuesdays in my life, without a doubt.
It was really bad for my confidence because I was playing like shit at the end of it. I'm like afraid to drink before shows now.
Maybe it's a life lesson then.
Yeah, I learned. Oh, it's great. Learned a lot.
I mean, you lived through the 70s, the 80s,
90s.
And just learned your lesson.
Just now, you're learning don't drink before going on stage.
Mm-hmm.
It's cool, bro. It's cool.
Yeah,
No judge. I'm just
No,
I'm just going over it in my head.
Along the way, I lost a lot of good friends to drugs and alcohol. Jimi Hendrix,
Obviously.
Janis Joplin, but it was really more recently it was the loss of James Garner that just made me look at myself in the mirror and say, "Hey, Fiddler, he was 86. You're 74. You maybe got 12 good years ahead of you, and do you want to remember those, and maybe get some good work done, or you just want to get wasted, So yeah."
Franklin the Mint here.
No, I'm looking forward to my golden age.
73 is not your golden age yet?
No, I'm just,
He's hoping to get out of here before 7 so he can still catch the early bird special.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they have this great country fried steak over at the Dirty Penny. Yeah.
Well, you guys mentioned that you have been focusing a lot on doing videos and other kind of stuff. And we talk a lot about this subject with bands that come on the podcast of how do you be a band in 2014 where the tradition has been you work on music, you make an album, and you release it and tour it and whatnot. But a lot of the trend is moving away from albums in a lot of ways, more towards singles, one-offs that you can sort of get out there and
Promote heavily.
Exactly.
Make videos.
So are you guys trying to find a balance between that?
We've thought about that a lot, but and I was kind of that school of thought because we had one EP and then we had an 8-track album before our most recent, which was 12. But I think that even though it's not maybe a popular opinion, I still think the LP is the way to go for a true listener,
Yeah.
Because I don't ever really find myself listening to EPs. EPs are just a collection of singles or a single, but I do think that for the general public, if you have one really banging single with a sick HD video, I mean that could be enough to get you, sold out at Slim's right away if you have the right connections. So but it's hard to decide what direction you want to go in.
And I think for us, it also came down to we're all fans of albums. So I think that it made more sense for us to be true to ourselves and to be like, well, everyone else is doing 3-song EPs. We should just do that because that's what we're supposed to do. It's well, I like records, and a lot of the bands
I want to make good records.
Good records.
Exactly.
The bands that Pink Floyd is my favorite band of all time, and they put out incredible records. And a lot of the bands that I'm following today that are putting music out, they put out a record every 2 to 3 or 4 years, and it's awesome, and it's
a
special treat.
And you can listen to it over and over again
because they thought about it. Even me, I listen to a lot of hip hop, and even Drake. Drake put out a really good record last year. I really like the record he put out. He also puts out tons of singles,
right.
But Drake's single is really different from a Drake record. I think that if you just look at just one artist, what he does as far as the cohesion of an album and putting out singles, they're sort of two different things. And when you're that stature, you can do both. But when you're our stature, you kind of got to choose. Are we going to put out a flurry of singles, or are we going to put out a record? And I think for us, focusing on putting together 10 or 12 solid songs and picking a single, maybe releasing that a month or two before the record drops, doing that made more sense than to just do, a couple songs here and there. It just wasn't our style.
Yeah. I think also like a big limiting factor with putting out records is like, do you have enough material to put together a record? And once you've gone through the task of, Kevin's writing songs, we're arranging them, rehearsing them, recording, it's like, do you still have that same energy to promote an album? I think it's easier just like write a song that's okay, get it recorded, and then put all the energy into just blowing up that one thing, But I think we're a band that works pretty well together.
Yeah.
With coming up with new material, and
We're kind of like, we always want to play new stuff, which I think the single thing maybe wouldn't even work for us. Thinking about if we had done that, if we focused on putting out 4 singles a year or something. I mean, we could play a show. We could play like an hour's show of all new songs. We don't do that because it's not really fair. That's like sucks as an audience member. But we don't really like to play. I don't know. It's just our songs are different too. I feel like the single game is kind of for like EDM and super pop, ultimate like you go into the studio and you're like, oh, let's write a great like a hit pop song where you're like with some producer and you got some hot chick and all these computers. So.
Yeah.
But it's definitely a way to go. But I think to split the difference, we're trying to make videos for every. We're trying to make videos for every song on our last album.
Like Beyonce.
Trying to pull Beyonce
I think
out
Janet did it once too, maybe, or who else did it before?
Rhythm Nation.
Yeah.
Radiohead said they were going to do it for OK Computer, and then they didn't.
I have a video, a VHS tape, that has I think a lot of those videos on it, but not all. There's a lot of great songs on OK Computer, too. I like how the second half of that album's just about as good as the first half.
It holds up. I mean, I've kind of fallen out of my Radiohead fandom over the years just because...
I don't know what the fuck they're doing anymore. Putting out the same weird album over and over again.
I'm not loving it, to be honest. Like, Kid A, I was into it. It was good. It was weird. It was different, but it was good. Amnesiac started losing me more and more, like, with each one. I'm like, I don't know if I'm just, like, falling out of love with it or if they're just moving in a direction that I'm not really crazy about.
Maybe you're just not in that phase of your life anymore, You don't need them anymore.
Well, I think you could say that about a lot of bands, like Weezer. Like, I could get into their first few records, but after that, it just, like, first of all, completely lost track of them.
Yeah.
And then... yeah, I stopped trusting it.
Yeah. Well, their second album was fucking amazing, Pinkerton, and then Rivers wanted to go to Harvard or whatever, and I think after that they kind of
nerd alert.
Yeah. Also, I think Matt Sharp is like, that one right there. It's already out.
Is it?
Other side.
Is that a little Leatherman?
Oh, I see.
There you go. Yeah. But yeah. I don't know. I think Matt Sharp was like a big part of what made Weezer awesome on those first 2 records.
Yeah.
And
I was all right with the third one.
Third one was okay. And then,
I don't even remember what happened
after that.
It
It's
seems like
like
they put out like 6, 7 more albums, and it just sounded weird or lame.
Well, I mean, that's a question that I think every band has to confront at some point, where there comes a point where if you achieve success early on in your career, how do you move forward and stay true to that, but not be repeating yourselves over and over again?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Totally.
And I think Radiohead, they try a little too hard to like be different every time and say, oh, well, we want to do something that is totally different than the last record. And they're so focused on that it doesn't make good music, and they end up kind of just with this half-ass kind of album that, and even if they're songs that they've written years ago and have been playing for years and just never put on an album, you're like, I liked it better live, or, because they get too caught up in the technical aspect of it and too involved in the heady side.
Yeah.
But
I think it's a dangerous game to play. We pretty much write everything before we even conceive of like incorporating anything sort of cerebral or like computer or anything like that. We don't think about production when we're writing songs.
Yeah.
Really.
When you're writing your songs, are you thinking about it in terms of playing them live first and foremost?
I don't know. Well, Kevin
I
writes
think
the
so.
songs. What do you?
I don't know.
I think by the time they get to us, we're thinking about playing them live.
Yeah.
We try to
For
lock
sure.
in like a rhythm, you know, and I'm not sure though, because it's always different
Yeah.
depending on the track.
Yeah.
Well, it's just weird because we don't have any
We have
electronic elements at all, since it's just like guitar, bass, and drums. You know,
Yeah.
I think that we are like, well, this is what we play with. Like, we might think like, oh yeah, I want to put some distortion on this part when we get in the studio and play that live, or
Yeah.
we should double this up, or maybe we can add something here and there. But overall, we're trying to think about what can we do as three people to make this sound awesome and sound true live.
It's all pretty stripped back.
Yeah.
I mean, all of our albums we've recorded live too. So, and we used to play a lot on the street. So I think when we kind of come together on a track, we want to make sure that it's going to be as good as it can be unplugged or plugged in, because it's all you get. There's no melody.
Yeah.
There's no lead guitar or anything. So, I don't know. It's weird.
Yeah.
Our next record, we're going to experiment a little bit more with some alternate things, some different textures and lead guitars. Because Kevin's
We've
starting
been
to
in
play
touch with
electric.
Celine Dion. We're kind of
Naturally,
collaborating,
yeah.
and Neo is actually going to do a feature on one of the tracks.
He's
So
going to blow it up. I can't wait for that.
Jay-Z, he's dropping a verse.
yeah. I mean, him and I kind of have dirty laundry because of the whole Beyonce thing.
Right,
You know,
right, yeah.
for me and her back in the day. But
I
Right.
actually did.
I-
I
it's-
forgot to tell you this, but this is true. I met somebody that's friends with Too Short. Might be
Oh,
able to
shit.
get Too Short on like a remix of an RTT track or
are
something.
you serious?
Holy
Angela's
fuck.
attention. Back that ass up. You know,
No,
like
dude, Too Short is the worst. Oh, sorry,
Hey,
I'm gonna stop
millions are going to hear this, dude.
myself. Dude,
Too Short's
Check
great.
yourself.
don't tell me.
Too Short's a legend.
Too Short is a Bay Area legend, straight up.
You got to listen to his early shit.
You gotta
He's old now.
is
Sorry,
yeah.
bro. You know you're old.
You used to be too short. Now you're too old.
But in terms of the sound that you guys perform, a lot of people, I'm going to assume that not everyone listening to this podcast is in the Bay Area. So it's kind of, it might seem weird to people to have a band that has very like Americana, bluegrassy kind of roots vibe going on
Mm-hmm.
in a place like San Francisco that is, you know, a major metropolitan city. But there actually is a very big Americana scene in the Bay Area.
Yeah.
But like where did you guys get into this sound, and what were your influences in defining how you guys wanted to make this band?
I mean, I used to be a huge Bob Dylan kid, you know, when I was just like a senior in high school into my early 20s, which I guess I'm still in, but like 18 through 20 I was super obsessed with him. So love Johnny Cash and John Prine, and kind of I like the country vibe. But I don't know what it is. I think maybe it's because that kind of music is more song based, and so it is kind of from the era of cool songwriting,
Yeah.
and that's what I appreciate above all in music. So that's probably why we're kind of in that zone.
We spent 5 years in Nebraska.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
It's not easy though, being like country boying, you know what I mean, in a world
Yeah.
of like vampire inverted crucifix girls with bunny
Right.
ears on, you know, like it's kind of rough.
It's also
Right.
weird too because we mash up a bunch of different sounds. So if we play with a bunch of indie alternative rock bands, we're that twangy band, and if we play with twangy bands, we're straight up like pop rock band. You
Right,
know, because
right.
depending on the context, it's like it's got these flavors. Like the two songs that y'all will hear on this, like they're more twangy because that's what we have a tambourine and an acoustic guitar. So we're
Right,
gonna
yeah.
do those jams. But we have some stuff that gets on the edge of like a really hard-hitting, almost punk kind of stuff, and then some twangy and some pop rock. You know, it's really hard to say what it is. So it's hard for us to find a scene that we fit in with. So we mostly
Right.
just hang out and play with bands that we like and that we're friends with, like, you know, Picture Atlantic and Owl Paws. And, you know, neither of those bands necessarily sound like us, but we all, I don't know, work
Yeah.
well together.
I feel like the whole folk music tag is like can be real big. Like just people have a lot of conceptions when it comes to, or their own ideas of what folk music is, and to some people it'll always be some like old fart with a guitar and a harmonica, like but like I think I really love folk music, and it really turned me on. Yeah, kind of like when I was Kevin's age, you know. But I was really just impressed with how like so refreshing after. You know, I got into it at the time when like, you know, pop stars were the big thing. You know,
Right.
popular music when, you know, around 2000 and
Boy bands.
yeah,
and-
boy bands and all that stuff. So I was just think it was refreshing. It's like I'm like, wow, there's music here, and there's raw emotion, and so you can, if you get off on the technical side of it, there's a lot of great folk music that's really technically challenging, you know, with guitar players and bluegrass and all this stuff, and fiddle players, and just how there's it's no smoke and mirrors, you know, it's no bullshit music. And I think that can be, we get that tag folk because I think mostly because of the acoustic guitar and the harmonica, but really it's more of a folk aesthetic,
Right.
where
yeah.
it's like, you know, you present the song in a way where it's like there's no flash, there's no gags, there's just like, here's a song, here are the words, this is how we play it, you know, and you can, and it's a music you can almost take at face value. I think there's, you know, not too many distractions with our music. There's no electronics or
Yeah, and I think to get back to your original question of how does it find its way into a metropolis like San Francisco, is I think it's really just it's a response and a reaction to the EDM scene. You know, this big flourishing movement of people that basically sit on laptops on stage and sell out, you know,
Right.
crowds of thousands of people. And so there's a certain sect of people that are going to have a negative response to that. And in places like San Francisco and the Bay Area, it's big. You know, it was a big rave scene in the 90s, and it became another big sort of like dance scene in the 2000s. And I think that, you know, the dubstep thing that happened and is kind of fizzling, and how these huge artists will play stuff like Coachella. I think people living in cities, city kids, and people that are into rock music or folk or whatever it is can get into that kind of country-ish, twangy Americana sound and be like, this is real. You know, this is something that's actually tangible and real. And like Frankie the Fiddle over here was saying, it's something you can take at face value. And that's, I think, sort of where you were coming
that was
at
kind
a
of where I
little
was
bit.
coming from when I was younger too. When I first found about Bob Dylan and John Prine and those songwriters that were really important to me, is before then I was listening to a lot of like emo, acoustic, MySpace stuff. You know, like the scene aesthetic and all this like weird Fueled by Ramen sort of label that's
Yeah.
chill, but it's really fluffy.
Yeah.
And when I started listening to real songs, you know, that just, like Andrew was saying, didn't have any frills or anything, I realized how important and impactful a song can be if it is just presented like that. So I think that's what we're still going for, is and what we all enjoy doing is trying to play music that is kind of back at the root of music, I guess, and trying to, you know, impact people's lives, you know, and
And kind of throwing back to that, like, do we think about our songs in a live setting? It's like, I think all of our songs really do. Like, when I think about it, they exist in real time. you know.
yeah, totally.
They lack nothing, whether it's in the garage rehearsing or on the street or at a club, you know. It's like, everything's always there, you know.
What are your, I mean, I guess this is more for Kevin, but like, what kind of things inspire you lyrically? Like, you look back on, you know, like you mentioned Bob Dylan or like Woody Guthrie or these people that were writing songs that were very about the time and place
Yeah.
and trying to capture and encapsulate American life and the struggles that people went through. And obviously it's a very different world in a lot of ways,
Yeah.
but in some ways it is very similar.
Mhm.
But what about living in the Bay Area and growing up in the Bay Area sort of inspires you to take that approach?
You know, I'm kind of,
Sorry. I think your lyrics are different, though. They're not like...
I don't know if they're really like topical in that sense, you know. I'm more I'm inspired by like Evil Chicks, and currently I don't know I don't know if I write about it, but I am kind of upset about iPhones and that whole culture. But that's more of an inner struggle that I don't really think that I can even begin to tackle in a song.
What about it is
just because people
striking
are
you wrong?
Well, people are just numb. You know what I mean? I can't actually make a connection with
Right.
most people I know. I mean, even people that are my friends. I'm just like trying to have a conversation and it doesn't work. And then you look around you, everybody is just sucked into. I don't even know what they're doing. You know what I mean?
And
I don't even think they don't know what they're doing either.
I'm playing Tetris.
Yeah, and they always you'll call them on it, and they'll be like, "I'm listening."
Yeah, they're like, "No, I'm listening."
I'm multitasking. I can do both. It's like,
yeah, but
okay, then what the fuck was I just talking about?
Yeah, exactly. I think focus is something that's being lost rapidly,
For sure.
as well as depth perception.
Like you're so good
and
at multitasking. Can you? What's the opposite of multitasking? Focus on one thing.
Mm-hmm. I think it's just the whole climate is not focused. You know, you can't get a room full of people.
Plug in, tune out. You know.
Yeah, and it sucks because that follows you home too. I mean, because everybody has a laptop or a computer at their house these days. So it's like on your commute, you're on your iPhone looking at whatever, and then on your breaks at work, you're looking at your iPhone, and then you go home, and then you hop on the computer and do whatever. It's like watch Netflix for 5 hours, and then take a shower with your eyes closed, and then look in the mirror and be really upset. Like that whole thing is just awful. I think that is actually the end. That's the end of humanity. So I think that the world is spiraling, and that just upsets me. But I don't really write about that.
Albert Einstein said we reached a point where our technology has surpassed our humanity.
Yeah, and that was hella days ago too.
That was a long time ago.
Porcupine Tree wrote a record 5
3
years
weeks
ago. If you ever blame Planet.
Yeah, straight up. And people are just becoming very vacant. I don't know if I can say they're becoming like less smart, but they're not available.
Yeah.
I live in the marina, and I see these yuppie folks all the time, and they get caught off guard by stuff. You see somebody at the ATM. Oh, can I borrow your pen? They're like, what?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Sorry. I'm like, I don't know if you have if they have trouble connecting with people, or they have no fucking social skills. But everybody gets to be seen thrown off guard by anything that doesn't come at them from the screen.
It is very weird. I mean, I was born in LA. I moved up to the Bay Area in the late 90s, and when I moved here, I moved to Oakland because I went to school out there. And then my school, the last 2 years of my major, we have 2 campuses. So the last 2 years, it was more in San Francisco. So I moved over to the city. I lived there for about 5 or 6 years. And then I was like, fuck this. I gotta this place is kind of spiraling culturally. I gotta, go back to Oakland. So I moved back.
Circling the drain.
And it was so fucking weird just moving back to Oakland and readjusting to the behavior differences in people, where all of a sudden, like, my neighbors are talking to me and I'm not expecting it because I'm still in that San Francisco mindset where I'm like, not really acknowledging anything that's going on around me. And all these people are just like talking to me. I'm like, what the fuck is going on? And then after like, a day or two, you're like, oh, okay. All right, this is cool. Like this is how it should be.
Yeah, totally.
You should know what your neighbor's name is. You should know, the basic things of what are going on in their lives. Like, and in all the time that I lived in San Francisco, I didn't really know any of my neighbors. Like, nobody in our apartment building talked to each other, except for the crazy woman that would wander the hallways, hopped up on something or other.
Oh, I know her.
Yeah, she was a character.
Yeah, we dated.
But it's very weird that that is becoming the normal.
Is it still like that in Oakland? More chill, more community?
For me it is, but it's, obviously you're getting a lot more people moving over from the city who are, they don't know that that's the way it is, and so they just can't adapt to it, or they don't conform to that.
Yeah.
So they're living in their little bubble while everyone else is kind of like, living in the same world.
What part of Oakland and what part of San Francisco were you in when you were here?
Well, right now in Oakland, I live in the Diamond District, which is an awesome little neighborhood in East Oakland. And when I first moved over there, it was an apartment building above a barber shop and a beauty salon and a pizza place. And the guys from the barber shop and the girls from the salon would hang out in the parking lot behind our apartment building and, barbecue, play dominoes, shit like that.
Yeah.
And, they were really cool people, and they would always talk to you, tell you what's going on with them, ask you what's going on, whatever, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And it was just this weird thing to me after living in the city where at first I was living in the Mission, and this was when the Mission was kind of just starting to become like a hipster spot.
Mm-hmm.
But it was still grimy, it's still a little grimy in
It's
some
still pretty
places.
grimy, and they're 16th.
Yeah, there's some places that are still a little nasty, but for the most part, and now when I walk around the Mission, which isn't very often, it's so alien to me, like the people that hang out there,
Dude, I think the people in the Mission look like aliens. I swear to God.
It's
They
weird.
look like
Valencia's
white
a
people
trip.
aliens.
Yeah, like you're wearing red jeans and you whatever. You
And
look
they're on
like
their cell phones like they're a part of
Yeah.
some spaceship.
They're all on their iPhones for sure.
Yeah.
And their babies have sleeves of koi fish because they can afford
yeah,
that.
exactly. It's just such a weird thing to be happening where San Francisco for so long was like a cultural mecca where like
Mhm.
people would come to be a part of something, or you were an outcast wherever you were from. You were the only person with tattoos, or you were the only person into a certain kind of music or culture or art. And so you moved to San Francisco because, it was like the beacon of other people like you, and you could find weird people and not have to feel like an outsider. And then I literally watched the transition happen of where it was that. And then there was this stage where it became like you would move here because you were that outcast, but then when you got here, you were a nobody, so you had to keep up with the Joneses, and you had to have the most tattoos, and you had to be the most hipster person or the most punk rock person. It just became this thing where everyone started just repeating what other people were doing and just trying to copy so that they could feel that connectivity to people.
Mm-hmm.
And it became less about uniqueness and more about the bond of feeling like you're someplace where people understand you. And then now it's sort of moving even away from that to where you're not an outcast. Maybe you're a geek, but you went to college. A lot of the people that are moving here now were in fraternities. We're in
Yeah, dude.
it's a different kind of person, and it's much more broy.
It's,
you
dude,
know?
so many Patagonia vests.
Yeah, and it's just so crazy to have seen all that happen within the span of 15 years. And I don't know. To me, I definitely understand where you're coming from with looking at people who have sort of lost touch with the world around them and the nature of reality. And
Well, people just aren't really living in reality right now either.
Yeah.
Because I think I noticed at the moment that something cool starts to happen, somebody wants to take a picture, and,
Right.
post a picture of it, and there's this whole idea of trying to prove, I guess, to everybody that follows you on whatever social network that you're having hella fun and that your life's hella sick.
Right.
But it's actually empty and devoid
Yeah.
of meaning.
It is. I mean, it is weird because on one hand, as someone who does, marketing and promotions and is trying to get the word out about
Right.
For sure.
bands and shows
Yeah.
and all this stuff.
Yeah.
It's
I
like,
think we have this deal with
you
a
know,
lot of the same things.
it's-
Yeah,
you know?
totally.
We have to think. We
Yeah.
have to get in that mindset. Like,
I
all right,
posted a
what's-
picture of this on Instagram.
Yeah.
when we
Right.
started.
But yeah.
oh fuck,
which-
that reminds me, I got to take a
Which,
picture.
is, which is important to do. I'm not
Yeah, it's
saying
funny
it's
though.
not important. I
No,
mean,
you're pointing out a problem. You don't have the answer. You're just saying
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
kind
yeah.
of fucked up.
I'm just
Yeah,
saying
bro,
it's
what the fuck? No.
But it
You're
is
like,
true.
What, you don't want to see Instagram pictures?
But like, we need to remind ourselves to do that. We need to be like, okay, we need to remember that next time something
because
cool is happening
people
with the
care about
band,
that.
Right.
You know
take
what
a
I mean?
picture.
When you're trying to have a conversation with somebody about how you feel and they're scrolling listlessly on their iPhone, they're actually
Right.
scrolling through
Yeah.
Instagram. So
Yeah.
you might as well have your picture up there, I guess.
Yeah.
But it sucks that that's such a big part of promotion or whatever. It's not.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just kind of whack. You know what I mean? It just sucks. It's lame.
Well, one of the things that's really interesting to me is how we've created this dual reality where,
Mhm.
and it's even more of a than a dual reality, but for this example, we'll go with dual reality, where there's obviously the real world that's happening around you, and then there's the virtual world that you are constructing that is sort of like the removed version of yourself
Yeah.
and what you want to portray.
Mhm.
It's like the equivalent of makeup, you know, like it's virtual makeup where you are presenting to the world the made up version of yourself and your life and your activities. And that is growing to the point where that is another reality. It's so deep now,
Totally.
so multifaceted that is a virtual reality.
Mm-hmm.
And the second someone invents a way for you to literally live in that reality, I think a lot of people are going to.
Oh yeah, people are gonna go.
It's very, very crazy when you think about it like that.
That is a really weird thing.
But one of the side effects when you have people so distracted by this, you know, secondary reality is that people that control media and control information are able to use that distractedness to change the real reality and like change what people's perception of the real reality is by simply like flooding you with things that you don't fact check, that you just kind of take at, you know, face value. And so really there's like the real world is more real than the virtual world, but in a way it's becoming like
The other way around.
Or it's just like
It's just so important.
a lot of the way
Yeah.
people, that whole fact checking thing is crazy. First of all, I don't believe anything I read on the internet anymore.
Yeah.
Because how often have you like come across an article and read it and been like, I read recently an article about where like all the cars that car manufacturers don't sell are going, and they had this big article written by this person
Mhm.
about how there's all these cars being stashed everywhere around the world that aren't being sold, but we keep on making more. But like immediately after reading that, I was like, oh my god, that's crazy. Look at these pictures. But then like I read like there's another article about it's like why that article is total bullshit. And
Right,
it's like
yeah.
actually I wrote almost the same article 5 years ago, which was where they got all those images, you know. And actually the truth is that's not true. That's true.
Right.
I've seen that too. There was something about a photo shoot. Like, look at all these old cars that were left in Berlin after World War II.
Oh, yeah.
And then somebody's like, actually, some of those cars were made after World War II
Right.
ended. They're like, wait a minute. And then there was
It's
some
crazy.
article in Time magazine about pit bulls.
Yeah.
Time magazine online had this article about pit bulls that was just like full of bullshit.
Right.
It's like I can't believe that people like can trust anything online.
Pit bulls are great.
I used to make a joke about that.
Adorable.
It's like, oh, I read it on the internet. Must be true.
Right.
But like people they read something like they think it's news or they think they're reading.
Yeah.
a
And I mean,
dictionary.
it's so easy to get hoodwinked nowadays. It's like,
I love that word.
you know, I mean, it happened to me the other day and it's an example of how fast this shit spreads, is that I was in the office and, you know, scrolling through Facebook for work, obviously.
Yeah, of course.
You already know.
And an article came up about you know the guy who got arrested in the mug shot, and he's like, you know, all the
Yeah.
girls thought he was
Yeah.
really hot
Yeah.
Mhm.
or whatever, and they offered him a modeling contract. Well, someone on my Facebook page posted an article about this guy like he was being released, and within an hour of being released, he was killed by his wife in Stockton because of some dispute. And I was like, I just read it and was like, holy fuck. And of course the person next to me is like, what? And I'm like, dude, this guy, blah, blah, blah. And then I'm like, 2 minutes later, I'm like, wait a minute. And I like go, I'm like, holy, this is fake. Hold on. Never mind. But a lot of people don't go that extra
No,
step.
there was that bit about Mos Def being stopped at the border or something.
Right.
He's not called Mos Def anymore, but
No.
after he did something, they're like, oh
He
yeah, he
changed his
couldn't.
name?
Yeah, Mos Def did. I think
Yeah.
he did.
When there was that article recent that went out about Orange is the New Black getting canceled, you see that? There was like this thing because Orange is the New Black is this like really big show on Netflix. It's been hugely popular and it's transgender. So there's a bunch of stuff that's doing.
It's the new black.
Yeah. And there was this article that was posted that was just like Orange is the New Black has been canceled for season 3. This is why. And it was this article that is like crazy. It's like about how the producer was like, we're sick of having like a strong lead female character. We can't have this anymore. We're gonna have to cancel the show because you wanted me, or no, the creator got in a dispute with whoever runs the Netflix show about he wanted to have a stronger male lead or something, and she was like no, and he's like, look, I'm sick of these women doing this, and this. And they're like, and it's written in the contract, it won't be picked up. That's it. It's canceled. And I read that and I was like, okay, that's fucking ridiculous. But like. I went to my day job the next day, and someone was like, "Oh, did you hear they canceled Orange is the New Black?" And I was like, "You seriously believe that? Like, you gotta look in, and you gotta take that next step to see, like, okay, that's total bullshit because there's so much of this going on that it's just people just write just shit, and then it gets shared on Facebook and shared on Twitter and posted on Tumblr, and it's just.
There was
But
a
for a
great
lot of
article
people.
about Blake Griffin, sorry. Justin Bieber supposedly went into a Starbucks with his shirt off. Tried to order a caramel frappuccino, and they refused to serve him, and he freaked out.
Yeah,
and then Blake Griffin like shoved him or something.
Yeah, that he was like he played police on Justin Bieber or whatever.
I saw. Somebody's like, "Oh man, I'm buying a Clippers jersey," and then I read this article. I'm like, "Wait a minute, it's not true, right?"
So much.
Blake
shit.
Griffin.
It is
drink
weird.
Coffee.
It's all like, why are we being distracted by all that stupid shit
Right.
too? That's the question.
Yeah, and it's so easy to get caught up because, like you were saying, in a lot of cases, just the fact that you read something and then a little bit later your friend said something about it is confirmation, even though like it's not from any kind of respectable source. Nobody fact checked it. The fact that someone else says it in your mind is like, oh, it's adding more credence to it.
Totally.
Which is a scary thought, and I think one of the interesting things is that with the internet there's so much more it's so much easier for this kind of shit to spread, but then it's also a lot easier for you to see it happening, you know, if you're so inclined, which
It's
a lot of people
It's a lot
aren't.
easier for you to not believe it because you've seen it before.
Right.
Whereas if something was to
Fool me
spread,
once, shame me. Fool
exactly.
me twice. Fucking internet.
Well, there's so many sites that are in this really gray area. Whereas, like, if you see something posted on, SFGate, let's say locally, like San Francisco Chronicle, you're like, this is
Right.
probably fact checked and probably real. But if you went to the grocery store and you picked up the National Enquirer, you'd know that most of that stuff is bullshit.
Right.
And these things about these shows or Blake Griffin, it's not popping up on like nationalenquirer.com. It's at some site that maybe posts real stuff sometimes, maybe
Right.
doesn't. You don't know where it's coming
You
from.
gotta like scroll down to the bottom of the page. That's what I always do. Anytime
well, they're
I
just
hear
trying to
those
get
outrageous
hits. You know what I
stories.
mean? So
Yeah.
and
they're trying
nobody
generate
gets to the
traffic
bottom. So
make money off
That's the
advertisements.
first thing you gotta do. Because sometimes at the bottom they'll be like, by the way, this is a bullshit site.
Yeah. Or you see the recommended articles and it's like ridiculous shit and you're like, okay.
You read the
This is-
comments.
Recommended
bullshit.
articles. This pill will give you a boner or whatever.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, right.
That's actually legit, bro.
Oh, really?
I don't know.
He knows.
They got boner pills now? Dude.
But it's just this weird, like, I don't know. It's something that's kind of fascinating to me intellectually to see it happen, but also terrifying that it's actually happening.
Totally.
Is that, people are so distracted and so caught up in this virtual world that they're so invested in that virtual world that they start to care a lot less about the real world.
Mm-hmm.
And things impact them a lot less.
Totally, dude.
And the shit that's going on around them that's fucking terrifying,
Yeah.
they're like, because they're You know, why think about that thing that's going to make me sad when I can look at my Instagram feed and see, you know, stuff
and
that makes
post
me
a
happy.
selfie, and people are gonna say, "Oh, you're so gorgeous," or whatever.
Exactly.
That's
But back
all
in the good
fluff,
old days,
dude.
you would just like try and go to sleep one night, and you'd just be haunted by the thought that, oh God, I am this person that I've lived my whole life in this body as this person, and I have to face that reality. Oh my God, how can I convince even myself that I'm a good person or an attractive person or a charismatic person? It's like much easier to convince yourself of that and get a good night's rest if you can just look at your Facebook profile.
Even hobos are hella on smartphones these days.
For real?
Yeah.
They just put up like one of those outdoor charging stations outside my work,
Oh,
you
yeah.
know, where they just plugs for all sorts
Right.
of chargers. And there's all these homeless people that chill out around my work, and they're all just chilling around this thing, scrolling on smartphones.
Wow.
Makes me sick, dude.
I mean, do
Well-
they have a hobosonly.com already?
I don't
yeah,
know.
they have
Like,
a hobomatch.com.
I mean, I guess-
Do you want to fuck him
I
up
guess
on a board
for
house?
them, like, you know, maybe that's more exciting for them because they are living really hard lives.
right,
so.
right.
But
Yeah.
it is kind of like the internet and all this sort of social networking stuff is like a drug. It's a sedative in a way that it's, you know, it's like if, I don't know, it just is, it's frightening.
Yeah, and people are just impatient. They want quick. They want to evolve quick, and like
Yeah.
it's not about cultivating something over a period of time or
And-
like taking years to figure out who you are, and then finally embracing yourself. It's like no, I'm gonna set it up right now.
Well, and that
Here's
goes
what I look like.
that
Here's
goes back to
about
the
me.
like single to album thing. It's like if we put out a single that is like hella banging and has a crazy video that's really stimulating and has like tons of girls shaking their ass and like people doing blow and stuff, like people are gonna watch that. But if we put out something that's has more depth and it's gonna take a couple listens to figure out,
Yeah.
the majority of the population is not going to listen to that. You know, even your friends are all experienced with my friends when they want to listen to music. They're like, yo, you should check out this song. They pull it up, and like a minute and 30 seconds through, they're like, all right, let's check out another song.
Right,
I'm like,
right.
dude, I want to hear the whole song. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, people can't even sit through one song without starting to fucking bug out. And like, so
Yeah.
Luckily, all of our songs are 2 minutes long, so people probably can last.
that's true. But I mean, hopefully,
Hopefully, you
look
never
at
know.
look at the yellows on Bandcamp,
Yeah,
bro.
dude, I've seen
on the
people at
on the
parties
partial
on
partial
iTunes.
listens.
I call when you're being DJ like that on iTunes. I call it playing God. I'm like, just let the fucking song finish, man.
Yeah.
Quit
Yeah.
playing God.
Just yeah, people are always trying to change the track. It's really frustrating.
A friend of mine was over a couple weeks ago. She put on Bruce Springsteen, Born in the USA.
So
just
chill.
out of the blue. I'm like, sweet. And then a minute and a half later, she turned it off and put on some other shit. She's like, does your record player work? I'm like, what the fuck are you doing?
Yeah.
That makes me sick. If you can't
put
get
on something else
she
that
should
was
have played that
good.
entire album front to back.
Oh, yeah. Oh, and she
It is-
poached one song on it, too.
This is something I have to scold my wife for all the time because she went into business for herself and started up a consulting business, and so one of the first things that she did was like, okay, if I'm going to be, working for myself and, people are going to be hiring me based on my credibility, I'm going to buy a nice car. I'm going to show up looking nice and looking right. So she bought herself, a reasonably priced, gently used BMW, but it has like a center console where you like use the little thing. There's a screen. She hooks her iPhone up to it, and she'll be driving, but like half the time she's looking at the screen, like constantly searching for the next song to play. And I'm like, and it doesn't show artists and song titles at the same time. So like, there's so much shit on her iPhone that I know she hasn't even listened to because she doesn't already know it.
Mm-hmm.
Because she's just sitting there like scrolling through it. Oh, that song, I like that song. Skip it to that song.
Mm-hmm.
And all the time I'm like, you have to just like put an album on your fucking shit and just press play and listen to it.
Yeah.
Like, or put your shit on shuffle and just like let it play the next song magically and don't know what it is. Like, because if you're just looking for the stuff that you already know,
Yeah.
you're never
gonna
gonna
learn.
Exactly.
I'm the
And-
total opposite. I never get around to learning the names
Right,
of
yeah.
any songs of any of the artists I listen to. I don't know any of the names of the song because coming off of a record,
Right.
and I just put it on and
No, I'm the
Enjoy it
same
for
way.
what it is.
yeah.
you know, I'll know, oh, it's the song that sounds like this, or it's the third song on the
Yeah,
album,
exactly.
or
Yeah.
whatever.
And you know hella lyrics, but you don't know the
Yeah, it's
title.
funny.
Exactly, yeah.
There's this one Guided by Voices album called B1000, and I swear to God, I've listened to it enough times where I know every word of that album, but I couldn't tell you a single name of any of the songs on that record. But same with this Yo La Tango album. I Can Feel the Heart Beating is one. I don't know, and they have weird titles too. So I don't know what the fuck any of the songs are called.
I mean, I listen to a lot of instrumental music, so like, you know, I can't even like say, oh, it's the one with this chorus.
Yeah,
I'm
you know,
like,
and
eh.
trying to do the title of classical music. You listen to that at all? I don't even
Yeah.
know. I don't even know how they title those things.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I
They're on
listen to
hella
a lot
drugs.
of like experimental and
Yeah.
stuff like that, where it's not even real words. It's just like, you know, it's tall 4.3 or whatever, and it's like never gonna fucking remember that.
Dude, that's sick though.
That's
But-
cool.
But
I always like that when bands just give their songs really fucking weird titles.
well, it is. I mean, it's something that I kind of thought was really pretentious for a while. Like, there's some bands. If you listen to the podcast, people know that, you know, I really like Aphex Twin and Square Pusher and stuff like that, and they often, you know, use weird titles for their songs that don't really make any sense. And there was like a gag for a while where it's like, okay, you know, you just put together a bunch of letters and numbers and like that's your song name. And as I got older and a little bit more cerebral, I guess you would say, like, I started to understand why you would do that. If you're creating this music that is like supposed to be very alien in a way, that is supposed to be pushing boundaries and not referencing things that you already know, you want to take the further step of like disassociating it from like emotions and like, you know, words that you might have a preconceived notion about, like, or an emotional response to. Like, you know, you call a song Blue Sky and people are going to go into it
With
with-
their own little
Right.
idea of what a blue sky is.
exactly, and some people are going, oh, it's a happy song about,
It's
you
like-
know,
It's like
Yeah.
Gershwin.
beauty, or, you know, whatever. And if you don't want that, if you want people to be, you know, listening to it in a different mindset, all right, I'm starting to get that now. For a long time, I thought it was the fucking lamest thing ever because you can't talk to people about the songs. It's
Yeah,
like,
totally.
you know,
I think it's a fine line. I don't like these band names that are all fucked up, where you look at it and you don't even know what the fucking name is. You gotta hear it.
I don't like band names that are like 15 words long. That's like killing me right now.
Yeah.
Especially as like a promoter, as someone who has to design flyers, you know, put shit on a website. It's like, come on, dude. You're like, shit is ruining the layout of my goddamn flyer because your name is like 3 lines and you're the opening
I
act.
think that's kind of fun though.
That's
Yeah.
fucked up, man. That's hella
It's-
tedious. Every time you want to reference it, you gotta have some abbreviation. Even presidents of the United States of America is Pot USA, man.
They're playing at Slim soon, by the way.
Really?
Yeah. They're an awesome band. Another band, you know,
Very
kind of
stripped-
referencing
Very stripped
your guys'
down.
approach. Yeah, stripped down, 3 dudes, not even all their strings on their instrument. I mean, I don't know if they still do that, but when they started
3
out,
strings on the guitar.
it was like, you know, they
strings on the
didn't
bass.
even have all the strings on their
Dude,
instruments.
that's
so
tight.
They would
it's,
even take the tuning pegs off, so it's not even an option.
So they couldn't even tune.
No, just so like you wouldn't even be looking at like where a string could be. It's like on this headstock, like they would take the tuning pegs off that they weren't using. There'd just be these little holes.
Dude, that's chill.
I think the drummer like used to only use like a splash and like a
Yeah.
snare. Maybe a
very
kick.
stripped down. But I don't know.
You need an opener for that show?
I don't know. Maybe
All right.
He'd
Well,
be a
look-
great fit.
that would be an awesome show.
I'll
Let me look at that lineup and see what's going
Yeah, why don't
on.
you take a sniff?
That would be an awesome show. Now that you guys brought
Yeah, no,
that
it
up.
would.
I mean, I don't know what their music sounds like nowadays, but you know,
I had that one record. I don't know what it's
could
called.
work well.
With Lump
you guys heard it here first.
and Peaches and Kitty.
But I don't know. This operating in this world, I mean, which kind of is in a lot of ways in direct opposition to the sort of approach that you guys take musically.
Yeah.
And then, but to have to operate within this world, like obviously you have to have a social media presence.
Mm-hmm.
You have to, you know, have a Facebook page and all this shit. And as a band, you can't really just be a band anymore. You have to be, you know, everything. You have to be your own record label. You have to be your own promoter, your own I mean, you can get management, but, you know, for the most part, bands are taking all this stuff on themselves. But how do you balance that? You know,
We balance it by I do all that shit and he does all the songwriting.
oh yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because he's super morally offended by all these things and he can channel that energy for the songwriting, and I don't have a problem with it. So I just do it.
So he's basically our manager. I mean, he is.
I mean, he handles everything business.
He handles all the business.
That's why you and I were emailing about this
Yeah.
thing and why I got in touch with them about it and, you know, why I showed up first and, you know, just...
I have other responsibilities.
okay,
Most of my responsibilities exist in the real world.
I see, not in the virtual world.
Like
The only thing I do is sit at home with my iPhone, and then this band makes so much money that it pays my rent. It's
Right.
great. So I'm glad to
And
live-
obviously you get a bigger cut.
Oh, of course.
Yeah.
I'm doing all the
I
work.
mean, he lives in a castle.
he gets 85%.
Sean's harem is
Hold on, I
here.
gotta check my legs on this Instagram. No, but you know that's how we split it up, because I was in a band before we were doing this, and Kevin was doing stuff on his own, and both things suffer. You know, when typically all the responsibility comes down to the front man, writing the songs, doing the promoting, this and that, whatever. Because oftentimes other people in the band don't feel as invested in it. You're like, oh, I just play the drums, oh, I just play the bass, oh, I just whatever. We're lucky where the three of us all do different things and have different skill sets. And, you know, when I was doing my own band and I was doing all of the booking and all of the promoting and writing all the songs, one or the other is going to take a hit at all times. And when he was doing his own thing, he didn't really have that much of a presence because he didn't have the brain for it and was focused.
I don't have a brain.
You don't have the mind for that kind of thing. You can't handle it.
Kevin doesn't give a shit about that fucking shit.
Yeah, you're a great songwriter, and that's what you do. If I say, hey, I need you to write a blog post, you'll do it. But it's like you're a great songwriter. That's your focus. That's what it should be. You're a better songwriter than I am. I'm a better businessman than you are. That's
So
it.
let's share.
That's all it comes down to.
You don't see the pitcher at batting practice. Because he's
Oh, that's
focusing on the thing that
sports. Okay,
he's
sorry,
focusing on
sorry.
the thing that he's good at.
Got it. Okay, yeah, we both are all. I think Christy, we're all.
It's like-
Speaking of which, I got to get to the bar pretty soon.
Yeah.
Part of my real world is I get my culture from a bar where I hang out with a bunch of dudes, and we
What-
talk bullshit.
What bar do you frequent?
It's actually a cheesesteak shop, but it has a beer bar. It's called Jake's.
Dude, beer battered onion rings, do they have those?
They sure do, and you should
Alright.
try them with the honey mustard.
Give them a shout out, yeah.
Get what's up, Jake Steaks? Fucking
Where are they?
Marina. They're on a 3101 Buchanan, I think, 3201, something like that.
If ye dare enter the marina.
Buchanan, between
out Jake's.
Lombard
Yeah,
and
if
Chestnut.
you dare.
It is the only establishment on the block, and it's kind of obscured by two big trees that are in front, so it's kind of off the beaten path. Actually, don't go there, because that's my spot, and you're going to blow it up with your goddamn tech bullshit, okay? But if
Okay.
you're cool or you're like a foreign girl, just pop on by.
Now that you've alienated all of our audience, and we have no more listeners, you fucking asshole.
Yeah,
No.
tune out. Go ahead.
But like,
Turn it off. I don't care.
all of you are from the Bay Area, so
Yeah.
like you've seen. I mean, I'm guessing you guys were old enough to kind of be aware of the first tech bubble in the '90s, and then seeing what's happening now. What are your perceptions of the way it's changing the culture of the city? Like, you know, yeah, it sucks to have people on their iPhones and shit like that, but like, what have you seen that has actually been a fundamental change in the Bay Area?
What I think is just that it's more about design than art. You know,
Okay.
it's like if whatever you're doing is really crispy and clean and matches some sort of formula, people respond to it.
Right.
Versus, you know, the age of art whenever that was, or
Right.
throughout the stages of humanity, people could put out. It was more about kind of questioning and putting out something that made somebody think, and now it's more about kind of what doesn't make you think. It's about what feels
Right.
good right out the gates.
Everything is kind of made for consumption.
Exactly.
And if it's
exactly.
not easily consumable,
then people don't.
It's just
they're not.
successful.
Yeah.
done.
Yeah.
People won't even do it.
Yeah,
It's
people
not
don't
that
have
they
that-
do it and it's not
People
successful.
lack that intellectual curiosity. They hate to feel like they don't get something or they're left out because
Yeah.
they, whatever. I mean, it is their own fucking fault. If you haven't trained your ear to appreciate distinct qualities in music, then you're missing out. I'm sorry if the only thing that appeals to you now is like this overcompressed electronic tat. But yeah, but I mean, I've been in the city my whole life, and there's been huge shifts. Like
every 5 to 10 years, right? It's kind of changed dramatically.
I think about now, just certain things would never even occur to me, like as a child. Like me, I just turned 30. I live in San Francisco. Not. I mean, no, yeah, I live in San Francisco. It's too complicated to explain more than that, but I make it work.
Yeah.
I have a family. My parents have a house that they let me stay at, but I still live in the marina, and I walk around the marina, and I look at every house and majority of shops, and I'm like, I can't afford any of this. I
Yeah.
can't afford to live here. I can't afford to shop here. Nothing is sustainable for people who don't have lots of money.
Right.
And there's entire neighborhoods now in the city where you can go, and it's pretty much like that. And as far as like culture and nightlife, everything has really just become homogenized,
Yeah.
It's like everything is basically the same fucking place. It's like
Yeah.
people want the bars with the music, or the restaurants with the, cocktails and appetizers,
with
and
the menus that have no periods on the prices.
And
It's just like
yeah.
one number.
and everything's in lowercase.
Yeah.
And,
Right.
Yeah, and they
And served in mason jars and reclaimed
Yeah.
wood and
And
Yeah.
it's like everybody, I mean, it used to be this thing where it's like, I can't even imagine what it used to be like, It's like somebody like me, maybe like somebody who lived in the marina, and then be like, oh, let's go to the Mission tonight. Like, imagine like how
Right.
diverse it used to be when,
Yeah.
when Mission was, I don't know. I mean, I grew up in the marina, and I live there now, but when I grew up, it was fucking, there was a lot of rich people, there was pensioners, and
Yeah.
and there was middle-class families, and that's all that there
Yeah.
was.
And then in the 90s, the yuppies kind of
took over.
and
And pretty soon it's like, oh, 7-Eleven has been shut down on Union Street. Oh, Long's has been shut down on Union Street. Oh, there used to be 2 supermarkets that were both independent and privately owned. Oh, they've both been shut down and replaced
Right.
with a fucking gym or a movie theater or something else. And then it's like, you look at the restaurants that open and close just every day.
Yeah.
And it's like, how can you even trust any of this stuff? Like, where do you go to get, the city feels so young all the time. You're looking around and everything's under construction. It's
Yeah.
like, the city's been here for like over 100 fucking years. And people are just ready to tear the whole fucking thing down every other month and build it up again, Just whatever's in
weird-
style.
What's weird to me is that it's gotten to the point where it's comical, like how far this has been taken. You mentioned, every place being the same with the reclaimed wood and mason jars and, the Edison bulbs, and it's
Oh, yeah.
it's gotten to the point where one of our other guests was telling me that the McDonald's on 25th and Mission recently did a remodel,
Oh, yeah, I haven't seen
reclaimed
it since.
wood, and it's like when McDonald's is like adopting this aesthetic,
yeah,
it's fucking like it's
Yeah.
beyond that point.
I'll have a Mick Cappuccino and a Mick Mason jar, please.
Yeah,
That's like when Britney Spears had that dubstep drop. And one of her
Yeah,
tracks. You're
yeah.
like, you're fucked. This is done. You know?
yeah. And in Oakland, there's a Taco Bell that was just recently remodeled, and they didn't go the reclaimed wood route, thankfully, but very sleek, modern, like steel and aluminum and stuff like that, and LED lighting. And I don't know if you guys have ever seen that movie, Demolition Man,
Oh, yeah.
where like
Oh, yeah.
it was the
In
future.
the future,
and
1996.
Yeah. Taco Bell was like gourmet food.
Because it was the only restaurant that survived the Great Earthquake.
So it's like this. We're slowly getting to this weird, bizarro reality where, like,
oh yeah,
it's McDonald's is classy, and it's a very modern and sleek.
It's not even
Taco
really cheap
Bell.
to go to fast food anymore either.
you got to know
Yeah,
McDonald's
I
isn't cheap.
had to stop eating fast
McDonald's
food
and
a long time
Taco
ago.
Bell, KFC. Use coupons. Look at the dollar menu. You'll do it, right, kid?
McDonald's in the city is not cheap though. I never go there. It's kind of expensive.
What? I only get stuff that's on the cheapo list.
Oh, okay.
Like I get a McChicken.
But even that, it's like it's not $1 anymore. It's
I know it's
$1.50.
$1.29.
It's like
But check this out.
$1.49.
After midnight, they serve breakfast.
That's true.
Whoa.
Yeah, so you can get
Yeah.
hash browns, sausage McMuffin.
I
Coffee.
say, I mean, I don't know, man. I can't get down on that shit anymore.
I mean,
I'm
it
like,
hurts- it hurts
so-
your insides, huh?
Well, that, and I started learning more about how they make it, and you always hear like the old saying is like, oh, you wouldn't eat a hot dog if you knew what it was made of. It's like, I know what hot dogs are made of, and I don't give a fuck. Like, innards and all that shit, that doesn't bother me.
Mm-hmm.
But the one of the reasons McDonald's is so cheap, and the chef Jamie Oliver did like a series of investigative pieces on this, is that they buy their story is, we buy in bulk, so we are able to get excellent deals from farmers because we buy so much meat. And that's total bullshit. They buy meat that is not fit for human consumption, literally not fit for human consumption, rated by the FDA, and they soak it in chemicals for a certain period of time, and then somehow after that it's fit for human consumption. It's fucking
So
crazy.
They process the shit out of it.
They
Yeah.
literally clean it with chemicals, like in a vat of pink shit, and then somehow that changes it from not fit for human consumption to totally cool to sell.
So by the point you eat it, it's not even really meat anymore. Huh?
It's like
No.
repurposed meat.
It's like, and if you
reclaimed.
you can you can
I'm
see
down with
like
that.
people have done these experiments where they've taken a McDonald's hamburger and just like let it sit,
Right.
Mm-hmm.
and
Just the
it
preservative,
doesn't
it
fucking
looks exactly
change
the same.
for like years. You can keep that shit and it doesn't fucking change, and you're like, this is just ridiculously disgusting. Like,
Totally.
so for me, I've kind of gotten to the stage in my life where, and this is, part of the reason for this podcast existing, where like, I can't sit around and complain about shit, as they say in Idiocracy, which is one of the most prophetic movies ever. Shit is bad right now. And I can't just sit around and like complain about it. I have to actually take part and do something. Like, I have to be what I want, and I can't be sitting here like banking with Chase or Wells Fargo, knowing that they do fucking crazy evil shit and being like, but I'm still fucking giving you my money. I'm still doing business with you. So there came a point where I was like, you know what, I can't continue to support shit that is like obviously fucking everything up on multiple levels. So like, to me, eating food that is somewhat locally grown and organic and made by real people, not just some industrialized huge factory farm, where to me, I feel bad when I'm not doing that now, because I don't want to see a fucking like, video of a cattle farm where it's just fucking disgusting and they're abusing animals and like, treating them like shit, packing them in, and it's unsanitary and all that shit. I don't want to see that. And like a lot of people will be vegan or vegetarian because of that, and they don't want to support that. But to me, that's not an answer. If that's the reason that you are vegan, to me, I'm like, well, you're just choosing not to contribute. You're not supporting an alternative way of doing things that is more positive, you know? So I feel like I want to support people that do things the right way. And I want to give you my money, like, and not give it to the people and reinforce that fucking shitty behavior, you know? I don't want McDonald's fucking serving some little kids chemical fused rat meat, like, and saying it's food, you know? That's, to me, you know, obviously it's a huge problem. You look around and, like, people's health is crazy. They're overweight, and it's like, you know, this is so I mean, I hate to be that guy who's like, oh, organic, locally grown, sustainable agriculture, but you know, this, I mean, that's how we lived for thousands upon thousands of years, and you know, we didn't have a lot of the problems that we have today with our health, you know. And so to me, it's become, I've tried to like integrate it into my life where it just becomes part of the routine where it's not that much of a hassle
It's really
anymore.
easy to give yourself excuses.
Yeah,
for
it's
not
definitely
doing that
true.
Stuff. Like I just thought off the top of my head, like, yeah, sometimes, you know, it's late after a gig and you're really hungry.
Yeah,
The only thing
yeah.
that's open is fast food.
Right.
So it becomes easy.
Yeah.
And the way to avoid it would be to keep something good at home or
Right.
think about it beforehand. But yeah.
Or if people like, this is another thing that kind of like annoys me about San Francisco and Oakland too, in a way. No businesses are open late. It's like, you know, this is a world-class city, and like after like 10 p.m. there's jack shit.
Yeah.
It's like, you know, the bars may still be open, but they're like calling last call around like 12:30.
And their kitchens are definitely
Their
closed.
kitchens are closed. Their kitchen closed at like
Yeah,
9:30
total
or
bullshit.
10.
Mhm.
Taquerias will be open though.
Taquerias are open,
Taquerias.
yeah. You might have to stand in a line down the block
Yeah,
for like
totally. Because it's
El
hot shit.
Farolito or
Yeah.
something, but you know, I wish there were more late night options. Is all I'm saying. You know,
Dude,
as a
hell
stoner, that would be
Dude, I know.
that'd be huge
When
for
you're
me.
hungry and it's 10:30, you want to be able to get something that's hella yummy, dude.
Exactly, and not fucking
Not
you know,
not always a taqueria. That's another thing.
yeah, you know,
Although, I
I've been
do
getting into
appreciate
cereal
that.
lately. Just like crush like 2 bowls of fucking Frosted Flakes really late at night. Also, beef jerky and Cheez-Its are really good too.
Beef jerky is pretty bomb.
I don't know. I mean, to me, we're living in this really weird time where it's like we're on the transition between like the sort of, I don't know, when you're looking back on it a few years from now, it's going to seem so barbaric the way that we lived for so long, like, and the shit that we did to ourselves and our environment and the shit we put in our body, and that we allowed businesses and companies to do to the environment and shit like that. But we're in that weird stage where it's like it's not fixed yet.
We
and
see
it's-
Yeah.
the consequences 100%.
Well, no,
Right.
I think, yeah, I definitely always felt like I was like the first age of people that really knew that what you were doing was bad to yourself. I mean, we still get shovel-fed a lot of shit. You know, I
Mhm.
grew up in the 80s, you know, but like we know that smoking kills, you
yeah,
know.
yeah,
We've seen the adverse effect of big corporations on the environment and just like, you know, socioeconomics in especially in the U.S. and stuff like that. We know what is bad for us,
yeah.
but we still we
Yeah.
make excuses. We make the wrong decision on, you know, willfully. It's
Well,
it's
we're
just, like, I just, like,
addicted.
yeah.
We're addicted to like the easy lifestyle that like the baby boomers got. You know, they got to live that, and they didn't. Now they're, you know, in their old age, they're starting to see the consequences of it if they give a fuck.
Yeah, I have a older friend who's been staying with me, who was staying for me, and it drove me fucking crazy because he didn't recycle.
Mm-hmm.
And it seems like, I don't want to sound, I even sound preachy just hearing myself say that out loud, but just that little shit
Yeah.
that like we all know better. Like
Right.
it looks weird for me to see like a glass or a plastic bottle in a trash can.
Right,
I'm
yeah.
like, that doesn't belong there.
Yeah.
But this motherfucker's putting, plastic bottles, the center of toilet paper rolls in the
Right.
trash. I'm like, that's cardboard, dude.
Yeah.
You gotta recycle that. It's like,
It is weird. But for a lot of
hopefully it'll go even more that direction. Where
Yeah.
people will be like, because I still bank at Wells Fargo and eat fast food. Maybe my kids will be like, Dad, you're such a fucking
Yeah.
sellout, man.
It's an interesting time to be alive, and I mean, I would prefer if it was like, further along, and we didn't have to have this struggle between knowing that shit is awful but still being addicted to like the easiness of that life.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we're kind of like, we're facing this reality on a lot of fronts where the old way of doing things isn't going to cut it anymore. And, that's on a lot of fronts. That's on, even on the musical front.
Oh, yeah. I mean, the music industry, in my mind, is being ruined by the same, it's really old, rich, white men that
Yeah.
are still pulling all the strings in the, popular music industry.
Right.
And these motherfuckers need to die already. I wish they would all be so fucking dead.
Yeah.
We could bury them and start over, and hope that their kids aren't going to pick up the reins,
Yeah. Just hope that they don't like invent like the eternal youth until after these last motherfuckers go.
Or you don't want I don't want to pick on Clive Davis, but like if he had the power and the technology or the money and the technology existed for his brain to be uploaded into a computer, and he would just go on living in that way, making
Right, yeah.
decisions like,
Yeah.
oh yeah, we need a hot, sexy woman in front of this
Yeah.
this garbage. That'll do it. Beep boop boop, powering down.
Yeah. I don't know, man, but it's so terrifying just to sort of look around and be faced with that reality. And I guess that's probably subconsciously why a lot of people are the way they are, and the fact that they're so obsessed with being distracted,
Mm-hmm.
because it is like a very uncomfortable reality.
Totally.
And I get faced with a lot of times I'll be trying to tell people something that is real and they can't hear it. Like they don't want to hear it and they can't hear it, because hearing it, they already know it, but hearing it like forces them to confront it, and they don't want to have to confront it. It's like if you talk to somebody about something like, and we don't have to get into this if you don't want to, but like when you talk to somebody about 9/11 and you start talking to them about,
It didn't happen the way that
right,
people
just
think
things
it
that
happened.
like
Yeah.
don't quite add up about it, and
No.
are like, well, why did this, why did this report not address these things, and other experts are saying that that's not right, the way that NIST.
It was definitely a controlled demolition on,
Right.
on
So-
World Trade Center Building 7.
But it's like people can't hear it, like even if they
Too much to
know,
handle, you know what I mean?
yeah, they will say, I can't deal with this, I can't think about that.
Because it has bigger implications about like,
Right.
your own government is evil and that things are being covered up and everything is
Yeah.
a lie. It's funny that you bring this up, actually, because last week I got kind of baked and I was just like chilling at home. And just for fun, I like turned on the mainstream media. And I
Right.
watched both Fox News and CNN. And I was like, holy shit. Like I watched like 30 minutes of the O'Reilly Factor,
Mhm.
which I hadn't done in years. And it is absolutely insane, the
Yeah.
type of stuff that people put out there. And I can't even remember exactly what they were talking to somebody and making all these crazy implications, like this really aggressive interview. We're like, well, it was true that you said this, and the person's like, I don't, what do you, just
Right.
like, they're flipping stuff left
I
and
want to
right.
go on the O'Reilly Factor and be like, no spin zone. All right, I'm going to recall from memory the transcript of that sexy phone call you made to that woman. It's like, ooh, yeah, I want to get you in the shower. And the first time he calls it a loofah. The second time he calls Bill O'Reilly called a loofah a falafel.
What?
He's like, oh yeah, I'm going to rub that falafel or whatever it's called all over your breasts. You can
I'm
read
so
this shit on the
tuned out that
internet.
I don't even know what you're talking about.
Dude,
I'm guessing
Bill O'Reilly is just.
he
Oh,
was
by the way,
sexting somebody or something.
no, over the phone.
Oh, okay. He's
Bill
not
O'Reilly, by the way,
hip
just
enough
published
to
a book.
sex.
It's available at Costco around the corner. It's called The Death of Christ.
For real.
It's about Christ's final days.
because he was
there.
He's
Yeah.
like, and then you read the back of it. It's like, and they killed him, and somebody betrayed him, all for money.
Really.
Yeah.
And you're such an expert because
Yeah.
Well, but this is the deal: is that like in the Bay Area, we forget oftentimes that a
yeah,
large chunk of this country looks at things like, you know, the O'Reilly factor is real and fact, and they're sourcing, and they watch it and they're like, oh yeah, we should get pissed off about that, you know, and it just becomes this
right.
this big thing, and it is absolutely crazy. You know, and both Fox News and CNN and everyone else, they're all guilty of just putting stuff out there that is fear mongering and incorrect and just crazy. It's just bonkers.
Yeah.
Tripped me out. It really did. So I had to go on the internet and read about what was really going on.
Right.
Really going on. You know, it's
Yeah,
just
I don't even know.
hard to
Can't
say.
trust Time Magazine online. Can't trust Huffington Post.
Yeah.
Can't trust Newsweek.
Yeah, I mean, there's not much that you can trust anymore, and I have mentioned this before to other people that like I have this sort of ambivalent stance on a lot of shit, just because it's like I find that people in our generation that are, even if you're like liberal leaning, where you like mean the best and you want to be a good person and you think you're a good person, you are basing a lot of what you believe on like an emotional reaction and not necessarily even what is real or what is best, or you know, you just want to like create a scenario where you can feel better, like, and it's not about doing the most effective thing or about really solving a problem per se. It's about making you feel like it's going to be okay in a way. And it's, I don't know, it's so, and then on the other side, it's like, you know, you have the super right-wing people who are guilty of the same thing. They're not really thinking about what they're reacting to. They just sort of have this like emotional reaction to it where like, oh, well, that's socialism.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like, well, you don't even know what the fuck you're talking about, but you believe it so vehemently. And it's like, I don't believe anything that vehemently because I don't fucking know. Like, there's so much shit that I don't know for me to go out there and like stand on a pedestal and be trying to convince other people that what I believe is right. It's like, I don't even know what I believe.
Totally.
And you shouldn't know what you believe because
Well, Rin Tin
it's
Tiger is
bullshit.
here to tell you that everything is fucked. You're fucked. Oh yeah, your parents, they lied to you. And they're fucked too, and they knew it the whole time. Also, your friends are fucked. Okay? We're all going
They're
to hell
assholes.
in a fucking fanny bag.
All they do is look at their fucking cell phones.
Unless you join us.
Unless you buy our album.
If you pick up a copy of Splinter Remedies,
Available on Bandcamp.
iTunes, Amazon,
How-
Napster.
How much does it cost?
$10?
Did you say $10?
$9.99.
Wow.
Below $10.
$10? Why? I'd pay
Yep.
I'd pay twice as much for half as much.
For only $10, you can free yourself from all of the horrible
From the
things.
tyranny of bullshit
Yeah.
that's been spread to you.
And for all you cool kids, you can listen to all 3 of our releases on Spotify. Every time you listen to a song, give us like a 16th of a penny or something.
But also,
Yeah,
every time you
yeah.
listen to one of our songs, David Byrne cries a little tear, right? Yeah.
You can create your own Rin Tin Tiger Pandora station. We're everywhere. Bitch, we're everywhere.
Whoa.
What?
You just used a curse word.
Yeah, dude, that was fucked up.
Rin Tin Tiger does not use the B word.
I mean,
Speak for
we've
yourself,
been
bitch.
we've been talking about this like sort of unwillingness to confront reality, but and it does relate to music in a way that the way we've been doing it obviously is impossible anymore, and it isn't equitable to artists. You know, even with the record label paradigm, you know, a lot of the money was not going to the artists. It was going to this bureaucracy that fueled, you know, the whole spectacle and,
True.
you know, the commodity aspect of it. And we're to this stage right now where you can get anything for free. You know, you can listen to shit on Spotify and, you know, maybe feel a little bit of, you know, solace in the fact that, oh, well, the artist is getting a 16th of a cent for
Yeah.
every time I listen.
You should
But
know
really,
better by
it's
now.
not, it's not, that's not equitable. But the fact is, it's information, and information is so easily transmittable that, to expect somebody to pay for it is, it's kind of crazy.
Mm-hmm.
So we have to confront this fact that the way we're doing it isn't working, and you can't just expect to get it all for free, because then people like you guys wouldn't be able to do it.
Mm-hmm.
There has to be some value for the person performing and recording and sitting down and taking time out of their life to do this. You owe them something, because they're affecting your life in some way. It's just, we're in this stage where people aren't quite ready to address that fact and come up with an actual
Yeah.
solution to it.
I'm really disappointed in a lot of people, even people I know that just they don't pay for music. They could even be musicians, you
Right.
know, and they don't take it upon themselves to. They feel no debt to the people whose
Yeah.
music they listen to, you know.
Yeah. And it's weird because I feel that way, but at the same time, I download music, I'm guilty of it too. And I feel like, it's things are changing, and the fact that people can download music for free, to me, like, maybe it's not the worst thing. There are other ways that hurdle can be overcome, and we've talked to a lot of bands on this podcast who are finding success with the pay what you want model for their music.
Yeah.
And people, there are people out there who do really care, and if you are really touching them and affecting them, they're going to support you. And I feel like as an artist myself, I want people to listen to my shit, so if they download it illegally for free, whatever. But the fact that someone is aware of the fact that they're, I'm not paying for this, so I need to like contribute in some other way.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's going to be the way moving forward.
Absolutely. I mean, I don't care at all if people want to steal our music, 100%, because they're either going to steal it or they're going to stream it off Spotify or
Right.
something. Just come to a show.
Exactly.
Come to a show and bring a friend, buy a shirt, reach out to us on the internet, or, write a review of the record and post it on your blog or whatever it is, like spread the word in some other way. Because, I would rather have you pay $0 for the music and spend $10 on coming to a show than to do the other way around, and have people listening at home with this thing they paid for and then not interacting in reality.
Right.
My problem is that, like, I think that we've seen just a lack of people investing in music on all fronts. It's not just
Yeah.
the free downloading. I mean, we've seen that people don't really turn up the way they used to see live music. Even wasn't even that long ago. Like, I was reading about how some artists were staying in business by doing the touring thing.
Yeah.
Like people like Bella Fleck and other people like that who didn't really sell a lot of records but could do it
Yeah.
off of $30, $40 concert tickets.
Right.
Well, now I'm at the point now where people don't even want to pay $10 to go see live music.
Yeah.
Well, it depends. It goes both ways, because on one hand you have that kind of like, I don't know, hesitancy to pay.
Well, the point I was
10 or
making is just like
12 bucks.
across the board. It's like people know now that you do not need to spend any money to appreciate music.
Right.
You can watch videos online for free. You can listen to music online for free.
Right.
Yeah.
But as far as things that actually generate money to the artist, like buying a record, showing up to a show, buying a T-shirt, stuff like that, people aren't interested in those three
Yeah.
things. And in the grand scheme, I relate to it a little bit because people don't have money,
Yeah.
And so, but the fact is, people would sooner invest in $20 at the bar
Yeah.
than $10 at the merch table. People would sooner.
all day.
Whatever they'd rather they don't have the everything becomes itemized for them in this world where everything is expensive. It's like, oh, I don't have the time, I don't have the money, don't want
Yeah.
to take the bus, don't want to get stuck in a bar, have to pay for drinks. The last thing on their mind is actually, gosh, if I were to actually follow through on this, it would make the difference, and musicians would actually make a decent living
Yeah.
if, more
Well, it's
people.
about that value assessment where people don't want to confront that reality yet, where, yeah, you can get it for free, and you could go your entire life getting everything, musically or, media-wise for free, never pay a cent for it, never contribute anything to anyone. You can do that.
Yeah.
But
the-
the
and
fact is, if everybody did that, then there would cease to be
Music and
Yeah.
art.
music and art. I mean,
But-
obviously,
yeah.
some people would still do it
But,
just
people,
for
but
it.
people still will do things like invest in a new cell phone every 6 months.
Right.
People will still pay over $100 for a pair of pants or a pair of shoes.
Yeah. Well, we
you
don't
know.
value or respect art in our culture.
No, and that's the problem. And I hope it comes back to bite everybody in the fucking ass. Big time. Well, people are going to eventually be like, oh man, you can't get good music nowhere because nobody can afford to make it. And it's like those few people who are making it, like Rin Tin Tiger, we're going to be like, oh yeah, you want to hear us play? Now you got to give us $300, motherfucker. Where were you 5 years ago? You thought you could get it all for free. Good.
Well, how about
No,
this?
shit.
This is a kind of an interesting discussion. I just want to bring up something. I do think live music is kind of flourishing right now, though, because you have things like Coachella selling out 2 weekends in
Yeah.
one day. So
Yeah.
there's obviously festivals are different than seeing a great band in a club like Slim's or something. But what is it that draws people into those situations and out of smaller things? Like, people would probably more readily drop $300 on a weekend ticket to Coachella
Yeah.
and save up for it. That same fucking person has not bought a CD in a
Right.
year.
Right.
You know
Yeah,
what I
that's a
mean?
good
Like,
point.
what's up with that? Like, what?
Mhm.
Because are they just choosing to spend all of their money and be like, okay, I'm going to save every month for a ticket to Coachella because I got to go because it's a thing to do and put it up, which is centered on music.
Right.
But there's no fucking way they're going to Rasputin to buy the album when the day it comes out.
Yeah.
Like, what is that? Is everyone gets it for free, so it translates to these, like, festival things? Like, we haven't played Coachella, so I don't know how much money you make playing Coachella.
Yeah.
Probably a decent amount of money. I mean, the headliners, I'm sure I get tons
Yeah.
of money
Yeah. It's probably
Tons.
profitable for everybody
involved.
that works it. Yeah.
Exactly.
But yeah, that is
Yeah.
a good point. Like I definitely would see like, people going to Coachella, High Sierra, like all these festivals outside land.
Yeah, even outside lands,
These
like,
are the
those
same
tickets
people
sell
that
out
probably. Oh, I think
every time.
this would be a good thing. You do a little demographic study. It's like people who go to events like Coachella, whatever these big festivals during the summer. How much they're willing to spend on that versus how much they would spend during the rest of the year.
Yeah.
Let's say on
Would you spend
$5
that
to $15
$300?
tickets.
Yeah. Would you spend that $300 over the course of a year going to 20
shows? Yeah.
Probably not.
not.
Probably
But
not.
is it getting back to the original, foray into this? Is it because it's that virtual social experience going to a festival where I feel like
hashtag Coachella.
exactly
Yeah.
you're
Totally. You
could
you're
wear
not
that shit-
going
you could
to a
wear that
show,
shit like
You're wearing a badge,
too.
yeah.
right? And it's not like you're going to see a band that you love and you're taking part in the community. You're going for the event,
The
you're
party.
going for the
Be a
spectacle,
part of
you
it.
know?
Yeah.
belong.
And to be able to wear your cute clothes
Yeah.
and like
It's
snap
like this
pictures.
Burning Man
and,
phenomenon.
yeah,
It's like, you know what, motherfucker? That's great that you go get all wasted, like out in the middle of nowhere, like for a couple weeks a year.
Yeah.
But it's like, I don't know where the fuck I am right now, and I'm getting wasted all the time. It's like I don't need a Burning Man. So I don't feel the need to belong to something like that. Because I'm not denying myself this idea that like, oh, you go to Burning Man, you fucking put on a kilt and you can be an individual for 2 weeks. Like I'm trying to live that every day.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, it's easy to be a part of something if that's the case. If you
Yeah.
go to Burning Man, if you go to Coachella, you're all of a sudden part of this thing.
yeah,
where you're
and you-
not your job.
And everybody's
and you're
on
not-
Molly and hugging
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
fucking and stuff, and it's all good. But
like you could
it's
live
not.
every day
It is
like
virtual
that.
reality.
You could live every day
Yeah.
like that if you weren't hung up on.
and you
Whatever.
didn't invest in it at all. You didn't do anything to build it
yeah,
up.
you just showed up.
You
bought a
just showed
ticket.
up, and that's kind of like that's the scary side of where our culture is heading.
Mm-hmm.
Where it's like you have half the people that are aware of what's going on and talking about it like this, and then you have the other half that is willingly going down that like path to idiocracy, like where, you know, you're so detached from how things really work that you're not questioning how that McDonald's burger came into existence.
Yep.
You know, it's just a burger. It's there. I'm going to eat it, you know, and that's as much as you give a fuck,
Mm-hmm.
you know, but you're not living in the reality where you have to actually confront what this is, how it got there, and, you know, all the people along the line that had to contribute to make that happen. And if you're no longer supporting that, you know, process, then it can't work.
Yeah.
And
You
it's
know?
also getting harder too, because like you were talking about how you saying you don't have like on some subjects you don't have super strong opinions because you just can't.
Right.
Like with all the stuff that we have in our culture now, I think it's harder to question one thing because there's so many things that you just don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah. People like to keep things pretty much just tunnel vision.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, people I think were disturbed by the idea. It's like, oh yeah, you like culture? Well, guess what? Culture takes like fucking hundreds of years to evolve, you know, and it's not built on bullshit that was made yesterday,
Yeah.
you know. This is stuff that comes from somewhere. And yeah, you might find yourself going down a path where you're like constantly searching for something on your own because yeah, nobody's telling you, you know.
And it's not, culture is not always and most often isn't made up of the things that are economically sound, you know.
Yep.
Like the thing that is going to sell the most records is not necessarily the thing that's going to be best for culture,
Totally.
Right.
you know. And there are this is one of the pitfalls of the current paradigm, where bands like you guys have to actually be out on social media promoting yourselves, doing all this stuff. It kind of creates this environment where if you are not that person and you can't be that person, you're not going to be heard.
Yep.
And that is terrifying, you know, to think of the fact that think of all the really fucking genius artists in history, totally like socially inept, like probably borderline crazy, you know. These people aren't business people, you know. If you gave them a Twitter account and like, you know, all this shit, they either wouldn't know what to do with it, or they would, you know, do something completely fucking crazy with it that would, you know, ultimately hurt themselves. But, you know, you're creating this environment where you are only supporting the things that are economically feasible, you know, and it creates this reduction.
Yeah.
Ugh, it's terrifying.
Yeah, but I think at the same time, like I'm pretty passionate about like art and not. I mean, I fucking hate popular culture. You know, I pretty much hate most things. I'm a passionate person, but
I feel you.
but at the same time, I feel like that's just fuel. You know.
Yeah.
Because I don't think we really touched on it before, but so much of a big part about creativity is not just finding the things that inspire you, but wanting to distance yourself from the things that you despise. Or, I mean, and we see this a lot in music. Like, a lot of music is not just music like, oh, this music's inspired by blues. You could say this music is rejecting disco, or
Right.
this music is opposed to this new musical aesthetic where all you talk about is happy stuff. Like this music is it's like not a, you know, becomes this, it's a push and pull kind of a thing, you know.
Yeah.
And I think while I am inspired by so much great music and great art, I am almost, I would say, I'm at least equally inspired or motivated at least because of the shit that sucks
Yeah.
so much. And I think I'm okay with like looking at the majority of things, you know, popular culture, and being like, that's bullshit. Yeah, no, it's 99.9% bullshit, you know. And then guess what? I feel like an outcast like all the time.
Yeah.
I live in the marina. I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm a ghost. I don't know why. And I know why I'm there, but I walk around. I have nothing in common with anybody. But it's a motivator for me.
Yeah.
'Cause at least I know I'm going in the right direction, you know. I'm not going that direction,
Right.
so,
Yeah.
you know.
Well, when we're talking about like the the fact that people don't value art very much at all right now. People don't respect art. And it's gotten to the point for me where people have such misguided like feelings toward things that I'm a big movie fan. I watch a shit ton of crazy movies, and most of the shit that comes out is utter garbage, you know, especially Hollywood movies. But then there are some movies that are like genuinely very good movies. Like one of my favorite movies in recent memory is a newish movie called Snowpiercer. I don't know if any of you have seen it, but it's by a Korean director who has made some other great movies, and it's a post-apocalyptic sci-fi kind of movie, but it's about class and social constructs and stuff. Basically, the world in trying to remedy global warming, we end up fucking ourselves and freezing the planet, and like the only people left alive are the people that are on this train that has been created by this crazy guy that just circles the planet like nonstop, and it just like the train is all there is, and the people who paid for their way onto the train have like this very privileged life in the front, and they have leisure, and they have sushi and dance clubs and jacuzzis and all this crazy shit, hair salons. And then the people who they saved, like, who were, the last people just trying to like, oh, please, please, are living in the back of the train in utter squalor. They're eating shit. They're like, basically being used by the people who are at the front of the train to prop up their lifestyles. It's like totally an allegory.
Mm-hmm.
And I will see people that review this movie with such utter disdain, like literally saying like, this is the worst movie I've ever seen. This movie is fucking awful. And it just blows my mind that like, even if this isn't your favorite movie, like, how can you look at this and say that this is garbage, and then look at something like, and not feel that same thing towards Transformers, or like, you'll say, the same person will say, oh, it wasn't that good for Transformers, but they'll say that was the worst fucking movie I've ever seen in my life to Snowpiercer. And it's like, this is a movie that somebody like thought about, for one.
Mm-hmm.
They put their heart and soul into it. It means something. It's trying to tell you something. And it's like aesthetically pleasing and well made. What the fuck? Like, what is going through your mind that your perceptions are so twisted that this is the thing you hate? At the very least, you should, support stuff like this, because, this is art. This is what we're supposed to be, supporting. Not like garbage that is just meant to fucking, turn your brain off for 2 hours.
2.5 hours,
Yeah. Or in the case of, I think Transformers was 2.5 hours, over 2.5 hours.
Minutes, I think.
Fucking crazy.
I didn't see it, but I saw the timing.
I did see it.
You saw Transformers 4?
Yeah.
I heard it was awful.
It's actually, in the realm of Transformers movies, it's the best Transformers movie.
Really?
But, that's just because it doesn't have Shia, who, yeah.
Yeah, that guy's about to
Do you
blow
like all
his head
types?
off.
Do you like all types of movies?
I like a lot of kinds of movies, and I will give anything a shot, pretty much, and I will judge it on its merits. So something like Transformers, like, if people are having a good time making it, and I see some amount of creativity going on, even if it's not something that appeals to me, I can still respect it. Transformers maybe isn't the best example of that. Like I said, if you watch it, it's a better movie than the other 3 movies, I guess. But it's not a good movie. On my top 10, it wouldn't even be, anywhere near it.
Yeah.
But, I don't automatically hate something just because of, because there's a lot of shit that comes out of Hollywood where the people making it have greater ambitions that they have to hide, essentially, because they're working in this world where, you know, the bottom line is what matters, and, you know, mindless entertainment is what sells. So even if you are trying to say something, you have to say it in a way that isn't going to alert the people who just want mindless entertainment that you're saying something, because then they'll lash out at you and they'll fucking hate your movie. You know, so I watch a lot of Hollywood movies and try and see, okay, is someone trying to say something here? You know, because I've studied the history of film, and especially looking at like movies from the 30s and 40s and 50s where there were literally like laws against certain things that you could and couldn't deal with, that you couldn't show, couldn't talk about, and the way that filmmakers who wanted to say things had to like get around that by hiding things and encoding things and making subtle, you know, metaphors about things. So I approach things like that. Like, I'm not going to dismiss something outright.
I don't know. I have a little bit more respect for older movies working within the bound, like movies like Psycho or Citizen Kane, you know.
Like all of film noir.
I think they have a lot more to say than modern movies where you can show Bush and Dick and say cunt fucker or all that stuff, you know.
Bush and Dick, I thought you meant George Bush and Dick Cheney.
No, I meant gore and bloody cock. No, but I only watch old movies, really. I'm not up to date with Hollywood. I don't know. I
Well, there's a lot of good
Fight Club, I think. Or
I would definitely recommend that if you're someone who likes old school movies and you don't like Hollywood shit.
I like I like 80s,
like modern Hollywood shit. Of course, like 80s Hollywood. Again, there was a lot of subversion going on. Like, but definitely, I would recommend anyone who's into movies look into Korean movies, because right now and for the past like 10 or 15 years,
South Korean movies?
South Korea has been making some of the craziest, most amazing movies you'll ever see in your life. And I don't know what the fuck is wrong with these people, but they come up with the most.
I think there's something about the culture of South Korea where they've been invaded by so many people, you know. It's
weird, man. Like, but their film is really flourishing, and they have done some amazing movies. And I definitely, you know, I want everybody to look at this shit because it really puts into perspective like how fucking awful we are at this shit. Because you'll see them do, you know, someone will do a take on a vampire movie, and you're like, holy fuck, like, this is worlds better than the shit that we're making in the same subject matter, you know, because they still have, you know, artists working and that are trying to say something through the medium of film, which is very rare for us, you know.
I love Dracula.
The Francis Ford Coppola one, or the old school like Bela Lugosi. I think they're making a new Dracula.
Children of the night, what beautiful music they make.
That's a classic. I mean, you know, working within limitations, I think oftentimes yields like the most interesting results. And a lot of people can't get past that sometimes. Like, all they hear is that limitation. And, you know, this goes to movies as well as music, you know. A lot of people aren't able to see it for what it is. But oftentimes that's what makes the most interesting art, is people that are placing limitations on themselves or have limitations imposed upon them. And they just have to make it work.
The song Imagine is actually all about communism, veiled. And it was a very popular song, despite the fact that it was all about communism.
Fucking cell phone, dude?
That is a cell phone. And it's our next podcast guests. So I guess we should start wrapping this one up.
Yeah.
But it's been awesome talking to you guys. You guys have a show coming up at the Blank Club in San Jose on the July 25th.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, sir.
Who else is playing on that show?
It's our latest press, Hurricane Roses. Yeah, it's their vinyl release show.
And anything else you guys want to plug?
We're doing
Milk Bar
on
August
August 20th with the Parmesans and also Hurricane Roses.
Roses again.
That's a free show on a Wednesday.
Wednesday night.
RSVP, come out,
Free
rock out,
RSVP.
have fun.
Check out some of our videos online. We just
put
dropped
out
a
music
new one.
video for our
Got
song
some-
Bloodstains, and we got a video for our song Splinter Remedies, which is from the music video race coming up probably in a couple weeks when we get a director's cut. And
Listen to Splinter Remedies.
listen to our album on repeat. Listen to it in your sleep. Play it
From
for
front
your
to back.
Play it for your boyfriends and girlfriends.
Have
It's like
sex
that
to it.
Sleepify thing.
Smoke
You know, just
weed
put it on
to
when
it.
you go to sleep and listen to it over and over again. Then we can make over $100.
Yeah.
And so you guys are going to play us out with a song. What is it called?
Kill Me Rag.
Kill Me Rag. So we didn't mention it, but they played us in with Toxic Pocketbook.
Yeah.
And they're going to play us out with Kill Me Rag, both from your last album.
Splinter Remedies, yeah.
Toxic Pocketbook.
Oh, it's not
is
our
from
last. We've
Toxic
got another one
Pocketbook,
coming
actually.
out, but it's our most recent, I guess. You could
Toxic
say.
Pocketbook is from the album Toxic Pocketbook, which came
Certainly
out
not
in
the
2012.
last.
And then Splinter Remedies is from Splinter Remedies. I mean, Kill Me Rag is from Splinter Remedies that came out last year.
I would wildly swallow a smile if I would wildly swallow a smile if I did spit it out, as an injury. I'm gonna get drunk like a cherub trapped in flight on that concrete fountain. I'm tarnished and I'm chipped when I'm naked, trapped in flight on that concrete fountain. Lord, I've been wondering, what's it gonna be? What's it gonna be that's gonna kill me? Constantly in reverie, constant in recovery. Mr. Bell, your thoughts are base. Come looking for my wife again. She's been gone across the hall. She's been gone for quite a while. Mr. Bell, your intellect is making my stomach sick. Like, so I'm gonna get drunk like a cherub trapped in flight on that concrete fountain. I'm tarnished and I'm chipped when I'm naked, trapped in flight on that concrete fountain. Lord, I've been wondering, what's it gonna be? 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 What's it gonna be that's gonna kill me?
Lost it. It's chill.
It's chill. We just never pick it anymore.
Stitch up. It'll be a stitch up.
Yeah.
No worries.
Fix it in post, mate.
Yeah, just make sure it's all matched up.